Dear students, today's topic is one of the most important questions of CSS and PMS Islamic history and culture. Almost every year, a question is asked either directly or indirectly from the conditions of Arabia before Islam, because without understanding the society into which Islam emerged, one cannot appreciate the revolutionary transformation brought by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So the question is, discuss the political, social, economic, and religious conditions of Arabia before Islam. Remember one important principle for CSS. Islam did not emerge in a vacuum. It emerged in response to realities of the Arabian society. The period before Islam is known as Jahiliyyah, or the age of ignorance period. However, we must understand that the word Jahiliyyah does not simply mean lack of education. It refers to moral ignorance, spiritual darkness, social injustice, tribal arrogance, absence of divine guidance. Is the Quran refers to? Do they seek the judgment of the age of ignorance, Jahiliyyah? In other verses, the Baduns are strongest in disbelief and hypocrisy. These verses indicate the prevailing moral and social conditions. Before discussing political, social, economic, and religious conditions, briefly understand Arabia itself. Geographical position of Arabia is very important. Arabia lies between Asia, Africa, and Europe. It was surrounded by Persian Empire in the east, Byzantine Empire in northwest, Red Sea in west, and Arabian Sea in the south. Because of this location, Arabia became very important trade route. Yet despite its strategic importance, most of Arabia remained politically isolated due to deserts, harsh climate, scarcity of water. The famous historian Philip K. Hitti, in his book on history of the Arabs, writes, the desert was the strongest protector of Arabian independence. This geographical isolation helped preserve Arabian language and tribal traditions. Now we shall examine the four major conditions required in this question. These are political, social, economic, and religious conditions. The political condition of Arabia before Islam was characterized by fragmentation and tribalism. There was no central government. Unlike Persia and Byzantine, Arabia had no king, parliament, constitution, and national army. Each tribe functioned as an independent state, and the tribes were Quraysh, Aus, Khazraj, Banu Tamim, Banu Bakr, Banu Taghlib. Each followed its own chief. A tribal system was based on Asabiyah. The foundation of Arabian politics was tribal solidarity. Ibn Khaldun defines this tribal solidarity as Asabiyah, group feeling which binds people together. Whether a tribesman was right or wrong, the tribe defended him. A famous proverb stated, help your brother whether he is an oppressor or oppressed. Islam later corrected this by saying, help the oppressor by preventing him from oppression. There was continued tribal wars because there was no judiciary. Minor disputes became wars lasting decades. Examples that we can quote are Harbul Basus, started because of one camel, continued nearly 40 years. War of Daesh and Ghabra started because of a horse race. Thousands died. This illustrates how fragile peace was. If one member was killed, the entire tribe demanded revenge. Justice meant revenge rather than law. This produced endless cycles of violence. Chiefs, known as sheikhs, were selected based upon bravery, generosity, wisdom, age, lineage, no through hereditary monarchy necessarily, not through hereditary monarchy necessarily. But there were also strengths of this political system. There was a strength of courage, independence, tribal consultation, shura in primitive form. And the weaknesses included no unity, legal system, endless warfare, tribal arrogance. While politics divided Arabia externally, society itself suffered from deep internal problems. The social system reflected both admirable qualities and serious moral decline. This duality is important for CSS candidate. Positive social qualities were is students should never present pre-Islamic Arabia as entirely evil. Arab society possessed remarkable virtues of hospitality, which was legendary. And the example that we can quote is that of Hatim Tai, who became famous for extraordinary generosity. His name remains synonymous with generosity even today. Arabs were fearless warriors. The harsh desert produced resilience and endurance. So far as eloquence is concerned, Arabic language reached extraordinary excellence. Poetry was considered the highest art. The famous muallakat were displayed on the Kaaba according to traditional accounts. Poets were media personalities of their time. The annual fair of Ukaz hosted poetry competitions. Philip K. Hetty writes, poetry was the register of the Arabs. Keeping one's word was considered honorable in their society. There were also negative social conditions. It was a very dark side. Tribal pride. Lineage determined one's social status. People boasted, my tribe is superior. Islam abolished this mentality. The Prophet declared, no Arab has superiority over a non-Arab except through piety. This was declared in last sermon of the Holy Prophet. Women generally suffered. Practices included inheritance denial, forced marriages, unlimited polygamy, women treated as property. The most tragic practice was the practice of female infanticide. The Quran says, and when the girl buried alive is asked for what sin she was killed, another verse states, when one of them is informed of the birth of a female, his face darkens. Slavery was widespread. Slaves had almost no legal rights. The examples could be quoted of Bilal and Zayd. Many African and foreign slaves suffered severe oppression. Islam later initiated gradual reforms. Drinking wine was common, gambling was widespread. These created poverty and family conflicts. Islam prohibited both. Immorality, prostitution, adultery, interest, superstitions were common in parts of society. Social positives were courage, hospitality, eloquence, loyalty, and social negatives were women oppression, slavery, tribalism, violence, moral decline. Politics shaped power, society shaped relationships, economy shaped everyday life. But Arabia had limited agriculture, its economy depended mainly upon trade, animal husbandry, seasonal markets. Trade was the backbone of Meccan economy. Quraysh organized two famous journeys. The Quran also mentions their journeys of winter and summer. In winter, they went to Yemen and in summer to Syria. Important trade centers were that of Makkah, Taif, Yasrib, Najran, Aden. Large caravans traveled hundreds of kilometers, and the goods included in these caravans were of leather, dates, perfume, textiles, incense, spices, weapons. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself participated in caravan trade before prophethood. His honesty earned him the title of Al Amin. Agriculture existed mainly in Yasrib, Taif, Yemen, and the major products were dates, grapes, wheat, barley. Camels were called the ships of the desert. They provided transport, milk, meat, wealth, and status. Famous annual fairs were Ukaz, Majana, Dulmajaz. These were not merely commercial centers, they also hosted politics, poetry, culture, diplomacy. Economic problems included usury, monopolies, unequal wealth, exploitation of poor, and no welfare system. Marshal Hodgson observed Makkah had become an important commercial republic. Despite commercial prosperity, the greatest crisis remained spiritual. Religion before Islam was highly fragmented because of idolatry. Most Arabs worshipped idols. The Kaaba contained almost 360 idols. Famous idols included Hubul, Lat, Uzza, Manat. People believed idols acted as intermediaries. The Holy Quran says, we only worship them so that they may bring us nearer to Allah. Some individuals rejected idol worship, they were called Hanif or Hunafa. And the examples include Zayd bin Amr, Waraka bin Nofel. They searched for the religion of Abraham. Jewish tribes lived in Yasrib, Khyber, Fadak. They were economically influential. Christianity existed mainly in Najran, Ghassan, northern Arabia. People believed in fortune tellers, omens, magic, jinn, astrology, divination. Islam rejected all such beliefs. Religion had become ritualistic. The spirit of monotheism was largely lost. Society desperately needed divine guidance. So the students should quote historians. Montgomery Watt. Arabia was ready for a religious and social revolution. Philip K. Hetty. Islam unified tribes that had remained politically divided for centuries. Karen Armstrong. Muhammad transformed not only religion but also society. H.G. Wells. Islam created from scattered tribes a powerful civilization. So the students must avoid simple narration, always analyze. Pre-Islamic Arabia was neither entirely barbaric nor entirely civilized. It possessed excellent language, commercial vitality, courage, hospitality, yet it suffered from political disunity, tribal conflicts, social injustice, economic exploitation, religious corruption. Islam retained noble Arab values while eliminating destructive customs. This balanced approach earns higher marks for the CSS students. To conclude, the Arabian Peninsula before Islam presented a paradox. On one hand, it produced brave warriors, gifted poets, successful merchants, and generous souls. On the other, it lacked political unity, social justice, economic equality, and religious purity. This environment made Arabia ripe for a transformative message. The advent of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was therefore not merely the beginning of a new religion, it marked a comprehensive civilizational revolution that reshaped politics, society, economy, morality, and spirituality. As the Quran beautifully summarizes, indeed, Allah conferred a great favor upon the believers when He sent among them a messenger from themselves. Thank you very much.